Hey, Garret, Biss here. Recently, I've been doing a lot of work as a speaker and as a coach, specifically working with people in addiction recovery. And one of the things I've seen, one topic that comes up a lot, is veterans and addiction. And there's certainly a trend and a high correlation between veterans that are getting out, transitioning out of the military, and those veterans that are suffering with substance use disorder or active addiction. And as a retired Marine officer myself and somebody that's struggled with substance use disorder in my own life, I've got a little bit of an idea of why so many of our veterans end up suffering with substance use disorder or addiction when they get out of the military. And when we look at the causes of addiction and some of the roots of the human condition and experiences that leads many people to addiction, what a lot of the research shows is some of the most fundamental causes for addiction is lack of connection. In his famous TED Talk, Johann Hari says that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, but what he's found and what the research shows, the opposite of addiction is in fact connection. All of us need to feel connected to a tribe, feel like we are worthy and lovable and enough in a group of people that we belong to. And one of the things that we find as veterans find and struggle with when we get out of the military is that sense of camaraderie, that brotherhood, that sisterhood, that family that we share with our fellow veterans. That's an experience, that's a bond, that's a connection that is very hard to replicate and not often understood or appreciated in the civilian world or for people that are not in the military. And when a veteran transitions out of the military, whether they retire or they just do a couple tours and then transition out, they really lose that sense of connection and that brotherhood. Another aspect of that is that we all have this need to feel connected and like we are part of or one of the community that's around us. That's another difficult part about transitioning out of the military is that for many of us, when we leave service and we find ourselves out in the civilian world or out in the normal environment in the community, we don't feel like we really belong. We feel like there's certain things about us, certain things about our character, certain habits, certain beliefs, certain tendencies that we have that just aren't like the rest of society, just aren't like the civilian world. And it can make us feel really awkward, makes us feel like we don't fit in. We can be in a room full of strangers or a room full of friends, a room full of people in our community, and we just don't feel like we fit in. We just don't feel like we connect. And that in and of itself can create a lot of discomfort inside. So not having that camaraderie, not having that brotherhood or that sisterhood that we're familiar with in the military, losing that is a huge contributing factor to this discomfort inside, which is often that pain that is trying to be escaped or avoided when we reach for something outside of our body and when we engage in an addictive behavior or when we consume an addictive substance. A lot of the research shows that addiction itself, that substance use disorder itself, is not actually the problem, but it's actually an attempted solution to or an antidote to a problem that rests much deeper. It's more often a symptom of a problem than a problem in itself. And if we don't come back to and address what that root problem is or that cause for that need, where that pain comes from, that need to escape or avoid or numb, then we never really can address the issue. So that's why veterans face such an issue or face such a problem and have such a high percentage of veterans that are facing addiction and substance use disorder, because that lack of connection, that lack of brotherhood, that lack of sisterhood, that camaraderie, the feeling that we're just not like other people, that lack of, not being able to really fit in with our environment. Different. We've seen different experiences. We've done different things. We've come from a different culture. Many times we have a different belief system, and that makes us feel like we can't connect with or fit in with the community when we try to reintegrate or reassociate or become part of the civilian world and live, a life like everybody else that's not in the military. The third reason, the third major contributing factor, and this is one that I think contributes to more of the addictive tendencies and substance use disorder in veterans than anything else, and that's a lack of meaning. We find, in the military, for most veterans, when we're serving, we have this immense sense of meaning, this immense sense of pride in the work that we're doing. And everybody needs to feel a sense of meaning or purpose in their life so they feel fully engaged, so they feel like they're contributing, so they feel like their life experience and their contribution to society is enough. If we're not doing something that has a lot of that meaning, it can often leave us feeling empty or unfulfilled inside. And this is especially true for veterans. When we transition out of the armed forces or out of the military, we lose that sense of meaning that we once got from our profession. And there's very few, if anything, out there that we can engage in as veterans in the civilian world that can replace that sense of tremendous meaning and tremendous value that we once had. So when you lose that camaraderie, when you don't feel like you fit into the environment around you, and you lose that sense of meaning, and everything you try can't replace that sense of meaning or purpose, this creates that situation with immense lack of fulfillment, this immense pain inside. And many veterans, as we find from the statistics and from the research, many veterans end up leaning into, they find that meaning through their addiction. They find that connection, or they squash that need for connection with their addiction. That substance that they find that's external to them, or that behavior becomes, that becomes that addiction. That's where they fill these voids. And that's why so many veterans are suffering with this problem. If you are a veteran and you felt unfulfilled in your life, if you feel like you're reaching for something external, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's any other behavior that you've become addicted to, or if you feel that void inside and you just can't put your finger on why you feel so uncomfortable, why you feel out of place, why you don't feel that connection that you once did, and you'd like some help, navigating that path, bringing some of that meaning and purpose back into your life, please feel free to reach out. You can reach out to me directly, or just connect with other veterans in your community. Any of the veteran service organizations, there should be somebody there that can help. But by all means, don't live with that pain. Don't live with that void. Don't live in that suffering. You don't deserve it, especially after the service and the contribution that you've provided to our country. So seek help. Reach out to me if there's anything I can do. If you'd like to do something on your own and you'd like to do something in the privacy of your own home, I have a really short course I'd like to offer to you. It's called First Steps to Thriving in Recovery. It's a couple training videos and a couple exercises that you can go to help find that meaning, help find that connection, and build up some of that positive, that self-efficacy that can help you enjoy your life and thrive in your life after service. You can find a link to that at First Steps to Thrive, and I'll throw it in the comments below. Hope this helps you understand why veterans are facing such a problem with substance use disorder and addiction, and help you, understand if you're that veteran, or if that veteran is your loved one or your family member or somebody in your community, help foster some compassion so you can have that connection and move beyond the struggle and the pain.